everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to Look Back. This is a series of videos in a Dice Tower where I take a look at reviews I did 1, 5, 10, and 20 years ago. I tell you what I think about the games now, if I think about them at all. So let's go back last year. I reviewed Storytime Chess. Now this is very good. This has a very specific purpose. I give it a 7 out of 10, but it's a very specific purpose. Do you have young kids you want to teach chess to? This teaches them through stories and colorful pieces. My son loved it. And by the time we went through it, kind of the story was forgotten and he liked chess. So I was very happy with that. Metro X, I gave an 8 out of 10. Very nice roll and write type game where you're drawing subway lines and it feels like an actual subway line. Arcana Rising. Now this is another 8. This would have probably got more points if it had a slightly less generic theme and better components. But from Gray Fox Games, this is one that like people are not playing or talking about, and it's a very solid game. You're playing these cards down, making a little bit of an engine, trying to get tokens, switch them tokens back and forth, and then you score points at the end. Really liked it. And then Massive Darkness 2. Originally gave this a 9, but it is a 10 for me at this point. This is my favorite dungeon crawler right now. I went into this one with such low expectations because Massive Darkness didn't wow me, but Massive Darkness 2, man, I'm on board for that. All right. 5 years ago, I took a look at, with Z, the Penny Paper Adventures. This is a series of roll and writes, and I gave them a 4, a 6, and a 7, respectively. Only one of them was one that I liked. The concept's interesting, the theming's nice, but nowadays they just don't really stand out as much. The one I liked the most, a 7, was the Temple of Peekaboo. Blue Lagoon. This is Reiner Knizia game. It looks like a kid's game, but it's actually a very, very clever game that has like 2 different halves to it. I like it a lot, 7.5. The Rise of Queensdale. I originally gave this legacy game designed by the Brands, which is very exciting because Inka and Marcus Brand, a powerhouse design couple, doing a legacy game from the ground up. And then I played it and I said, it's pretty good, 7 out of 10. But I then, during the pandemic, played it again with my kids. We played it on a weekly basis and had a blast, an 8 out of 10. Then My Little Scythe, 8 out of 10. I still, they took Scythe and made it into a kid's game, and there's some similarities, but it's a good standalone game with very good components. Coimbra, an 8 out of 10. This game has not gotten a lot of talk about in the last few years, but it's a very cool game about dice drafting and use it. The color matters and the pips matter. I like it. 8 out of 10. And then Magic Maze Kids, one of the best kids games. I think Magic Maze is already a great game. It's a cooperative game where you can't talk, but you each can move things in one direction. Magic Maze Kids is the same way, and it just, for kids, it works fantastic. 9 out of 10. 10 years ago, I reviewed Antique Duellum. I'm not a huge fan of Antique, and the dual version didn't do anything for me. I felt this would be very boring. 5 out of 10. La Boca. This is another game from the Brands, but this one is one I didn't enjoy. They've just recently remade it as Recto Versa, which I think we have on a shelf somewhere around here. We haven't reviewed the new version of it, but I didn't like the original one. You're building in teams and trying to build something, so when I look at it and you look at it, it's the same. I just didn't like it. 5 out of 10. But I know a lot of people did enjoy it. Hanabi. So I dropped this one from a 6.5 to a 6. I know, Hanabi, one of Spiel's Jars, very popular game where you can see everyone else's cards but yours and you're cooperatively laying them down. It's fine. I'm just not as excited about this game as most people, I guess. Mirms. This is an ant game, and this I dropped pretty dramatically from a 7.5 to a 6 because I like the game. I like the theme, but I find myself wanting to play it less and less because it's too tight. It's a worker placement game where you're building a thing, but there are some things that as the years, and I played it, like you have to get more ants, you have to do some things. It's a little more restrictive than I would like it to be, but I still like ant games, and I would play it, but it's just not as high as it used to be. Pack of Heroes, a nice little 2-player game. Nothing amazing or spectacular or whatever adjectives you stick in front of Spider-Man, but if for a generic 2-player superhero game, pretty good, 6.5. Arctic Scavengers, we just talked about our top 10 deck building games. This is the second deck building game ever made after Dominion, and it's good. This was a reprint of it, a nice reprint of it. It works well. I think I still have it on the Dice Tower library. Very interactive, just isn't as good as many of the other ones. 7 out of 10. Ghost Stories Black Secret, 7.5. This is not as good as the first expansion. White Moon for Ghost Stories was great. Black Secret, you're going underneath the ground, fighting bad guys. It's fine, it's good, it adds another level, but I found that in the last 10 years, I don't know that I played it more than a couple times. On the Underground, on the other hand, 9 out of 10. I love this game when it came out, and very glad to see the nice new printing of it that's come out in the last few years. Just an amazing game about building subways. But I will play it with a max of 3 players. All right, 20 years ago, I reviewed some games from Bruno Cathala. I didn't know who he was at the time, but he did a series of 2-player games that were fine. First, we have Drake and Drake, 2 pirates fighting each other. 6 out of 10. I'll come back to the other ones in a second. Industrial Waste, a tile auction game from, I think Queen made it at the time. This is one that I like raced to get an English version of it. I didn't have an English version of it. And it's fine. You don't hear much talk about it now, but some of the concepts where you build stuff to then let you build other things later on, they were done well in other games. 6 out of 10. Way Out West. This is a game from Martin Wallace, one of the first, if not the first, worker placement game. It might be like the second or third. The concept was so interesting. If I put someone here, I take this action and no one else can. The game itself, not as good. Obviously, with the thousands of worker placement games coming out since, it's dropped a bit from a 7 to a 6. All right, back to the 2-player series from Bruno Cathala. Tony and Tino, gangsters against each other. This one I liked a little bit better, 6.5. And then War and Sheep. I gave this one a 6.5, but War and Sheep has been recently made as a game called Jurassic Snack, which I gave a 7 to. I think maybe the components helped in that one. Actually, someday I may want to go back and visit these 3. Maybe some of the other ones will be reprinted at some point. Gold Digger, this is from Reiner Knizia, a game about digging for gold and all, from Out of the Box Publishing. This is a nice little game, 6.5. Spinnergy, a big game with these big spinning wheels. I gave this one a 7 out of 10. It's probably not that good anymore, but I don't know. You put these rings on the wheels, and I had different rings you could put for different categories. You spin them, you get these things, and you had to have a story that used those words. Silly, but I liked it. 7 out of 10. And Picture Picture, which is a very old game, but is very similar to Categories, where you have a big picture full of all kinds of stuff, and everyone writes down words that start with different letters of the alphabet, but you want to write down something that no one else does. If you do, they cross off. Fun party game. I played this a ton as a kid and enjoyed it a lot. Anyway, those are reviews that I did 1, 5, 10, and 20 years ago. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vasel, and this has been Look Back on the Dice Tower.